Hey man, we gotta get this podcast recorded.
And that legendary sword he carries.
We gotta record this thing. Come on.
Hey, wait a second. I'm sorry, I gotta watch this.
You've seen this trailer so many times now.
Link.
Ahoy and welcome back to Bonfire Chat number 10, double digits. I can count them all on my, there we go.
Oh, it's good synced up there. Yeah,
I gotta get another hand for the next episode.
Yeah.
So Lumber, how you doing?
Oh, doing well. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Lots of good games out right now, almost too many good games out right now, but we're taking some time out to talk about what I thought was a really good game in Resident Evil 4 Remake. It doesn't actually have remake in the title, but Resident Evil 4 Remake.
What it is, yeah.
It's my first time playing Resident Evil 4. I don't know, but it was yours as well.
Same. Yep.
What is your wider scope Resident Evil foundation? What is your history
that
right
series? Yeah, that series has not been a big appeal to me. I guess I've never been the survival horror, like, you know, maybe I'm just a wimp. I don't know. I've just never been into that genre. But as far as like my history with the series, the only other Resident Evil game I played myself is Village. So 8, that came out.
Yep.
Was that 2021 now? Man, if that was 2021, that was a while. That feels like a long time ago. But yeah, aside from that, I've watched several playthroughs on one of my favorite YouTube channels, RKG. Go look up RKG, guys. Well, they did stuff at IGN, and then they have their own group now. They
Prepare to try, people.
Yeah, they did Prepare to Try. I don't know if they called it that when they were playing through the Resident Evil games at IGN, but I've watched Resident Evil 1 playthrough of that, and 7, and then 2 and 3 remake. When those came out. So I've watched all those playthroughs, and even one of Village when they did it, but I had already played it. So the only other game I played myself is Village. Like I said, the genre is not. I do like watching people play that stuff. It's fun to
Yeah, it's definitely a fun watch for sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of interest in these games, especially like growing up. It wasn't something that was like really in my wheelhouse. But I did play 7 in like a co-op setting. And it was like either through one night or 2 nights. I can't remember. We played it like I was like dozing in and out of like consciousness. I don't remember the whole game. But I did play 8 or Village, whatever you want to call it, by myself, and I really liked that game. And I kind of appreciate, like, I always thought Resident Evil was just like a horror game, but it's kind of, it's at least 8 and 7 and 4. It's pretty campy too. It's kind of like some goofiness. It's like it has some horror elements, but I wouldn't really call it a horror game for the most part.
Suspenseful, and they depending on the game, especially like I feel like with 7, it was like a resurgence, and they put it first person, and then it was a little bit more survival oriented. But then a lot of the other games are kind of like almost arcadey, or and real suspenseful, and then just about inventory and like ammo management and that kind of thing. So they kind of sway back and forth on the spectrum of survival, but the campiness is good. They are not ashamed of like making it seem goofy.
That's why, and I heard that 8 is pretty similar to 4 in general, like going into 4, and I was like, oh well, maybe I've heard 4 is good. It looks pretty cool, and I've heard that and I like 8, and it's pretty similar to that, so I'll give it a try. And I ended up really liking it.
Yeah, me too.
So overall, it's just we're talking about the scariness of the game. Was the game scary to you? Did you have like lots of suspenseful, scary moments?
I think once you understand kind of the feel of the game and the different enemy types and stuff, it's more either suspenseful, like when something's gonna jump out at you, you have to be ready to pop some headshots, or it's just like kind of stressful depending on what scenario you're thrown in with, how many enemies, what resources are available, kind of doing your loops around the arena.
Yeah, doing your loops, for real.
And because it's like you may go into something being like, oh man, I do not have ammo, but if they're going to throw a bunch of enemies at you, normally they'll be like, okay, go destroy this barrel over here, or go check this shelf over here. Like there's going to be stuff to pick up to help you as you go. So to answer your question, I don't think it's necessarily scary. It was suspenseful for sure, which in a good way. That they built kind of that atmosphere, especially based on the stuff I've seen compared to the original, like the tone of the game was just a little bit darker and moodier and everything.
Yeah.
And then it could be definitely stressful, just like if you get overwhelmed.
Definitely some tense moments, and like I know this is gonna sound stupid saying this, but like looking back on it, having played the game, there wasn't a whole lot of scary stuff. But when you haven't played it and you're experiencing it, you're like something's gonna happen. There are definitely some moments where there's like some like the section like in the freezer towards the end of the game.
Oh my gosh!
We turn on the power. That moment I did not like.
That was probably the worst part as far as suspenseful, scary stuff. Yeah, because it's like you feel a little bit under-equipped to deal with it, and that was kind of the point. So when they put you in situations like that, it's like, especially in this game, it was more few and far between, but it was kind of a nice change of pace. It's like you get your heart going, and you're like, oh man, I got to accomplish this objective while this other thing that I can't really deal with is present. That was fun.
I feel like a majority of the game, I felt like I could take on whatever was thrown at me.
Right.
And I wasn't really ever fearful. There was that one section too where you're waiting on the elevator to come down.
Oh yeah.
And there's basically you're put in a situation for anyone who hasn't played. You're put in a situation where you need to get up an elevator and it's coming down, and like the little hand of like the floors is going like this. It's like barely moving.
And another situation where it's kind of an insurmountable thing that you're trying to avoid.
Yeah,
so you're just around it, but
just running around. This like terrible sword hand monster thing for like 2 or 3 minutes, and that was pretty scary. I'll admit that one.
Yeah, it was. It was the same kind of thing as the freezer section before, because you get into avoidance mode. At least that's what I did. I was like, I'm just going to avoid this thing because it seems like the easiest path forwards instead of trying.
Running is so funny in this game. You kind of like. You don't really move that fast, and everything else kind of also runs that fast with you.
I was gonna say it's very interesting because you get used to the slowness of it, but it's just like anything else, getting used to how the game feels, and then they do balance it appropriately, the speed of everything. I do wish there was a little bit more of like a dodge. I was one of the things I was surprised about when looking at like specifically Resident Evil 3 remake. There was a dodge in that game, and it wasn't like you still had to time it right and everything. It wasn't like a constant dodge rolling thing like Dark Souls or whatever, but it would have been nice to introduce that little bit of mobility because you feel a little bit restricted. But once you get used to like, okay, they don't make these things go like way faster than me. If I'm just like smart about how I like,
you can just kind of turn around and run away.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Then you just kind of be smart about it.
I did have a couple funny like accidental dodges where I just like crouch and it kind of worked.
That's part of it though, because if someone throws something at you, you can just like
So many times though, I would see something, they throw something at me, I would I'd step into it, which is so stupid. Exactly, I was trying to catch it. But yeah, you bring up a good point. When I first started playing it, I felt like the game was very rigid. I didn't love the movement at first because you're really slow, and I feel like you just kind of you turn funny and you move funny, and shooting and aiming was all very. I felt like I was being restricted. But as I got a couple hours into it, I really liked it, and I kind of started to gel with the movement a lot better. In the shooting, which I thought the shooting was clunky at first, I ended up really, really liking the shooting. It has a lot of good weight to it.
It felt very very tactile. I thought it was, even from the beginning, I thought it felt really good, and it was more like I need to get used to this. But as far as a third-person shooter goes, it was really good. It was really solid. I
don't know what it was. I don't know if I'm just rusty in third-person shooters in general, but when I first started playing, I was terrible at aiming. I don't know what it was. But eventually, I was popping headshots
I messed with the sensitivity and stuff at the beginning, and there was different types of it that I had to kind of play with until it kind of felt right. But I did that way in the beginning, and I thought it felt really good. That was one of the things that kept me going in that game. Not other than the fact that it was just a good game, but I did like the feel of okay, I've got all this ammo. Let's go use it. They really stock you up. It's I can't wait to use this gun or this gun. So it felt the shooting felt good.
Pretty much all the guns felt really good. I used the pistol a madman the whole time. I love the pistol.
I think you and I are very similar in that. So did I. Yeah.
Getting a headshot on the scrub base enemies felt good every time. It felt so good. Oh, yeah. Especially when it was a bunch of them. You just pop, pop, pop. That felt really good.
And you gotta love the melee too, because you get a headshot, it's probably gonna stun them. Either it's gonna pop their head or it's gonna stun them, and you go up and give them a nice roundhouse. Oh man,
roundhouse was awesome. As stupid as it was so awesome. I love, like you said, when there's a bunch of them, and when you roundhouse one of them, you just kick all of them, and they all go flying.
There's all those funny things where it's I would wade into a sea of enemies and mash X to get the roundhouse off. It's like, if I get it off, they're all going down. They're all going down.
And then you start popping them on the ground too.
Yeah.
That's There was one funny moment. I was what was I doing? I was like in the village section at the very beginning of the game, and I was getting chased, and like I like knocked a ladder down, and I was trying to mash X to like kick an enemy to like get him out of my way, but instead he like turned around, like picked up the ladder, like put the ladder back against the wall. And I was like, no, don't do that, don't. And then please. As I'm putting the ladder back up, they're all just beating me in the like no. Like,
throwing hatchets at you, Chainsaw Man's coming.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man was something. What was I gonna say? What other than Chainsaw Man? So Chainsaw Man was scary, obviously. The other enemies I thought were like funny. I really liked the ones that had like a cow head on.
Oh yeah.
What was going on with those guys? Was that a cow head sewn onto their head, or was it just a cow man? Like what was that?
I have no idea. I feel like I've heard someone say, and I don't want to misstate this because I did not play the original. I thought I heard someone say those were not in the original. The cowhead guys, the chainsaw guys were. But yeah, I have no idea what's going on with them.
And
but
what was their weapon? They had was it like a razor blade shooter?
They had like a machine gun, like a little like Gatling gun at one point. I think they had several different types of weapons. Yeah, they were all equally as stressful as probably the chainsaw guys, except they didn't get as close to you unless maybe they like charged you or whatever. But I don't know what's going on with them. I mean, they were meant to be goofy. That's the thing. That's the goofiness, right? It's like, who is this guy? What's going on?
What's this guy's story?
What's this guy's story?
I thought the enemies were great. Even like the chump regular guys, they're really fun to just kind of like listen to them when they're talking to each other.
Oh yeah,
they're all speaking in Spanish and stuff, which I don't really speak Spanish, but
but the voice acting and like the way that they enunciated, like it felt like they just did a really good job with
exactly. They got somebody like playing their like that was like their magnum opus. That was their role.
Oh,
like,
dude, I'm gonna be a. You felt like they're not just phoning it in when it comes to what they're saying. They say the same things over and over again. It's like "Donde está?" It's like
it's so funny. I have such like baseline understanding when they say "Donde está?" I'm like, oh, he's looking for me.
He's like, well, me. That's me.
That's me.
Where are you? That's me.
Yeah.
It just felt like very authentic and like whoever was doing the voice acting cared about what they were saying, even though it was very simple stuff. I thought that every time because I was like, and it made it like you go into a new area and there's like guys walking around and you just kind of hear them over here and over here. And it's like it just kind of made it more immersive. And I did make sure I played with like headphones and stuff, and that was cool. So it was just it all felt very polished. So
are there any other good standout enemies to you? One that comes to mind for me, just like in general, the tentacle head monster things. Like I didn't understand if those were random or when those would happen.
I don't know either, but it's like those. It was like if it was random, then there was a risk reward for like getting headshots. It seemed because you'd pop a head sometime and it would be like a crit, but then like oh they're not dead and this other thing pops out of their chest, which is disgusting. Those guys were fine though because you just keep shooting like the centerpiece of it. But man, the other enemies like variation of that, it would be like looked like kind of like a scorpion tail that pops out with a mouth. Those things.
The mouth.
They took so much damage like to bring down.
Were you supposed to shoot in the mouth? That's what I was doing.
I think that you were supposed to, but sometimes I was not like positioned well enough to do that, and I'd just be unloading on them and just waste a bunch of ammo because it's like I have no choice but to like do it this way. Those were some of the enemies I died to the most, or at least enemies that caused my death by other means because I couldn't get rid of them, and then I was panicking about other things. So those, while they were stressful enemies, it was like another way that they changed it up, and like that was kind of in the stressful aspect of things. You would go through like a big encounter, especially in like the second half of the game when those things started popping up, and I got to a point where I had like 3 handgun bullets. And it's like I hope they did a good job about restocking you, but it's like oh man, I must have done that really bad because I have nothing left. So there was some pretty brutal combinations of enemies that they would throw at you occasionally. So you had to be on your toes.
I think I'm gonna say least favorite. These are probably like well-designed enemy gameplay-wise, but I did not like the regenerator guys. Oh yeah, the ones that like what do you call them? I saw someone like the giant, like they just have the dad ass, like They're just like this
Yeah.
giant like naked man. I don't know what it is.
That's what they are.
and
Disgusting, man.
they have that
dolphin
weird.
flop at you when
Oh,
you knock into the ground.
I lost it the first. So yeah, basically what it is, it's like this giant monster, and it has like these parasites within it, and you have to. It'll keep regenerating until you destroy the parasites, and you don't know where they're at. You just gotta kind of shoot at its like torso, and eventually
You
they'll.
get an item that helps you, but yeah.
But yeah, the first time it flopped at me, it's crawling on the ground like, oh, it's useless. It can do, and then it like literally dolphin dives at you. It's so like it like took the scariness out of it because of how goofy it was. But those
then
guys
they're still like they're doing damage to you and they're still coming. So it's like okay, this is goofy as hell, but like
I was wasting a lot of ammo on those guys until, like you said, you eventually get like an infrared like scope, and you can just like pinpoint their.
Each one has like 3 different parasites in it, and they won't die unless you kill them all. And then they introduce like the variations on that enemy when like you do kill all the parasites and they still come back. It's like my gosh, like
those guys were goofy. I mean, I guess they made for a good challenge. I wasted the first one though. I wasted a lot of ammo on it because I didn't understand the mechanic very well. I was just shooting it like a maniac.
I understood the mechanic, but I knew that I would waste more ammo than what it was worth to like try and kill the thing. And there's that in the freezer section. There's like multiple of them. Spoiler, I guess, lightly. But like I just went into again avoidance mode. I was like, okay, I gotta, and like I would just, you get used to the movement by that point. I just kind of run around them, and they just kind of lunge at me, and they miss. So it's like I just didn't even try to shoot them. I was like, I'm not like, well, maybe I have enough ammo to get it, but I'm just gonna waste too much on getting them. But yeah, it introduced that kind of thinking on your toes thing, which was fun. So
those overall, I think the enemies were great. Bosses were pretty cool. Bosses I thought were a good chance. I didn't think the bosses were too difficult ever, but they were really satisfying just to like unload because they normally gave some ammo. I really loved like a boss would like get like stunned, and you just go and shoot like 7 shotgun shots at, which is something you never.
Other thing where it's like the thing pops out, it's like a yellow glowing thing. It's like okay, shoot that.
You never. There's never a reason for you to shoot like 7 shotgun shells at once, unless it's like a boss, and then you just like unload on them. And it's really fun to do that when the opportunity arises. It was a giant. The first boss that you fight, the big giant.
The first big one, I think so. That was in the village,
I thought it was funny when you're walking by where the giant's at, and you have like this big door, and it's like obviously behind the door.
Oh, and you can hear it like breathing. It's like, oh, the next time I come back here,
exactly. You like know it's coming, and then you walk by this like giant hammer, and you're like, who could pick up that hammer? Like,
and like the player's like, Leon, you idiot! Like we know that something's gonna pick it up and smack you with it. Like we know.
So that fight was pretty cool. It's kind of. Don't you like jump on its back and like slice its little parasite? That was kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy, but that's its whole thing, man. It's like it's so interesting, the juxtaposition between like the serious, suspenseful, like moody aspects, and then you're suplexing a dude, you're roundhousing.
Dude, I never got a suplex. I was upset. I don't know what happened. I never got one.
The second half of the game, like. There were enemies when you stun them, like it looked like very intentional. They would go down to their knees and like turn around. Like, okay, well I'm gonna suplex you.
Oh, I don't know.
Never got a single suplex. Wow.
Never got a single. I got so many roundhouses, like an unbelievable amount of roundhouses.
Yeah, 'cause you definitely have to do the suplex when they're like stunned, but then you're behind them, and like you can't do it from the front. So that's maybe just like
I need to see some good gameplay clips of that because I was looking forward to that all game. But
it's really funny. Did the same kind of AOE thing when you suplex, it would kind of like stun the enemies around it.
Like I can imagine like an explosion, like
sometimes it would be like a crit, and their head would just explode. Kind of graphic. I'm sorry, but like that, it would happen. So.
There was some graphic deaths. The one thing would like ate my head, and it just like bit my head off, and like blood flying everywhere and all that.
Yep, that was the way I would die to one of those like head popping things with like the scorpion tail. Like that thing, it could just eat you. If it got you, you're dead. Like even no matter how much.
And then Chainsaw Man just cut you in half.
Yep. You could parry it with a knife though, because of course that's how real life works. So
One of my favorite moments in the game is when you're like going up to grab this like crank, and then two chainsaws come through the wall. And instead of just being like, oh no, and take a step back, you like do like some weird backwards jump off the wall.
He goes in style, man. He does everything in style.
Yes, some of those moments really like change the tone of the game and make it a little more make you feel a little less, I guess, scared.
Well, think about it. Leon is like the stereotypical like early 2000s action hero. Like that's they didn't take that away, even though it's a remake in 2023. So yeah, it's super.
I guess we haven't even mentioned what your whole point is. You're like work for the president. You're like trying to go save his daughter.
It sounds like a campy action movie from the 90s, which is basically what it was. So yeah, definitely.
It really is. You're basically going to into this environment of in like rural Spain. I think it is, to save the president's daughter, and she's there like half the time not.
She's kind of a nuisance, to be honest, when she's there.
Yeah,
so you gotta make sure she doesn't get grabbed and stuff.
Yeah, there's some stressful moments with that too, and you're like forced away from each other. And she gets grabbed, and you got to run back, or you got to shoot them from a distance.
Which I realized you can shoot her on accident. And
I killed her with a shotgun one time.
Yep.
There was one moment, a funny clip. I say funny. A funny clip I saw on Twitter. This guy was using like the sniper, or like just like the regular bolt rifle, and he's shooting his enemies from a distance, and then Ashley like runs away, like through his scope, like puts her hands over her head, like runs in front of him, and he just like caps her, and she just like goes, and like game's over.
Game over.
Yeah, it's like, what did you run right there for? I didn't have a whole lot of moments where she like got in the way. I had a couple.
It was most of the time when I accidentally shot her, it was when she was grabbed, and I didn't line up the shot just on the enemy. But like I got used to just like you tell her to either stay close to you or back away, and if you just tell her when you get in like an interaction with an enemy, just tell her to back away. Normally that like did the trick, and she stayed out of the way, which I think they just adjusted the AI. I've heard some things about the original about how it was even more frustrating.
Yeah, I've heard that she is less annoying in this version. And like her like getting in the way.
Right.
Here's something. One of my favorite parts about the game. I loved the treasure maps.
Oh
it's still you basically are given these treasure maps. You have to buy them, but you should have the resources to buy them like every time.
Yeah.
And basically, it's like it tells you where every single treasure is in that area, which sounds like, oh, that wouldn't be fun. It's telling you where all the hidden stuff is, but it was a lot of fun for me because what it does there, like in some games, you have to find stuff, and that's the challenge and the fun. But in this game, it's like, hey, there's a treasure over there. Doesn't that look really scary to go over there? I bet that's going to be crazy to go over there. And you're like,
it did the thing where you go back to an area you've already visited, you think you've already cleared it out, and then new enemies are there, and or they even had like. There were like the side quest things where you'd go and kill a specific stronger enemy, and then you're like, man, like I should go get that done. And there's that chest behind it, all that. So yeah, even though you had a way for it, which I guess you could choose not to buy the treasure maps. I just feel like the point was to have them on the map, and like you decide at that point, do you want to go, especially on higher difficulties, I'm sure, do you want to go spend the ammunition or whatever to like get that thing?
Yeah.
Which in a lot of cases it was something you could sell for a bunch of money. Or whatever. I feel like that's really what it boiled down to. It was just like
there was like a couple treasure. Weapons you find. There's like a fully automatic AR, and then like a SMG you find. I think that might be it. I don't remember. But most of it's like treasure. And as basic and simple as the treasure was, it give you like a for example like a crown, and it had like the little gem slots. It's like, ooh, put the gems in there, and like I was like, oh, this is fun. But I don't know why I had so much fun with that, but I did.
I had so many gems by the end of the game because I just stockpiled them. Because like until the very end, where I was like, okay, I know I'm going to the final boss. Let me just sell them all. But I did like that because it's like you get a piece of treasure. It's like, well, depending on the gem you inlay into the whatever, it makes it worth a lot more money. So,
different like multipliers. That was cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I played on normal mode. I think you did as well, and I didn't feel like I was ever really short for money. Like I just was
I
smart
felt like
about it.
Resources all across the board. I was pretty good with.
And like
unless you did something stupid.
Right, and like I said, there were certain interactions where you were supposed to use a bunch of your ammo to like get through it, but then they do a good job of giving it back to you, and then like. There's a lot of weapon options in the game actually in the different so handguns, shotguns, rifles, whatever. And my strategy was to just keep one of each type, settle into one, not keep 2, and then I just sell off the rest, and that's a really good source of money. And we haven't talked about it yet, but the upgrading system was cool.
Yep.
It was very satisfying progression. You could feel it, especially.
What are you buying?
Yeah, which is, I have an appreciation now for that NPC, which, again, people, it's like it's an iconic NPC.
Yep.
That was more of the campiness. Yeah, more of the campiness to the game was that guy. But yeah, I mean, it was super satisfying getting like the handgun. I went like full tilt into that, and then getting like its like special ability or whatever. It was very satisfying to progress through the game once you settle into something that you like, or if you find something that you like even more, like a different sniper that you like more than the one you had before. You could literally sell what you had just been upgrading and basically get back what you put into it.
Yeah,
so there wasn't
most of it.
You weren't necessarily being punished, for trying something new, which is great. Like, the game is going to provide something for you to use. Don't make me feel bad about using it or using the things I used before. Like, let me feel good about experimenting with stuff. And they did a really good job, with that.
For the most part, I had, like you said, I had one of each weapon type, like in my case. I did have 2 rifles for a good long time. And it was funny because I had the Stinger, which is my go-to rifles, like the semi-auto one. Felt really good. That's what I was upgrading more majority of the time. But I also had the fully automatic rifle, and I like never used it. I'm like, I'm gonna use this when I really need it. And I the one time I used it, I just wasted it. It was like in a panic. I pulled it out and it's like, just like shot the whole like thing.
The recoil,
like nothing. I like wasted the whole thing and then just ran away because it takes 20. Yeah. It's like 20 bullets, and 20 bullets in the semi-rifle, you can kill so much with 20 bullets there.
That's headshot.
I just sprayed it at a wall, I don't even know, and ran away. I sold
That's the other thing why I thought it was like, I definitely didn't want to keep multiple guns of the same type, because it's a shared ammunition source. So it's like, I'm only getting so much of the rifle stuff, especially, like, you only get so much of that. So, like, I didn't want to, like, have, especially like you keep one with a fully stocked mag of like 20-30 rounds. It's like, well, that's 20-30 rounds I could be doing something with, so it's like I might as well just use it on something else.
I love the case management in general. I thought that was really fun.
I love the auto sort, bro. I'm an auto sorter, 100%.
So I was auto sorter like ruined. Like, okay, so I was trying for like the first couple hours to like sort manually, which was, it is more tedious, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun, like, look at me, like, sorting this, and it's just dumb. But then the first time I auto-sorted, it, like, made it look way more presentable than I ever thought I could, and I was like, I can't beat this. AI is taking over even the fun things in the game. I can't beat this sorting. And sometimes it wouldn't sort everything.
Right, it was going to say, like, there was sometimes where I knew I had the squares to fit the thing in there, and it wouldn't do it. So I was like, okay, I guess this is my creativity coming.
Exactly.
Rotate this like this.
Exactly. Sometimes it was perfect, so it's like, I don't know. I don't know where to put this one. Like, what do you mean? Just put it right there.
Right there. Put it right there.
The first time it sorted my box, I was like, okay, I gotta do this every time now. It looks so nice.
I assume the auto sorting was not a thing in the original. I'm just gonna guess there.
I'm just gonna guess.
Other Resident Evil games,
we didn't have that technology back then.
It's like, what is it? What does auto sort even mean? But I thought it was a nice addition. I'm all about streamlining things that just are literally for time. They just take time, and it's like, if you can find a way in these modern games, whether it's a remake or a completely new game, just to take that out, focus on the thing that's like not like just a grind, I always appreciate that when I see that, because it's like I get to focus on the fun stuff, and rather than just like try to find fun in like the other things. Like, maybe it's like a puzzle or whatever, but it's like when you get so many items and you've done that like 50 times, it's like, okay, I don't care about this puzzle anymore.
There was one point where I was like hoarding when there's like a bunch of the Vipers. And I was like, these are going to be good for something. I had like 7 Vipers in my box. I'm like, what am I doing? Why do I have all these? You start eating all the snakes. It's just very goofy. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. But I was using the box that gives you more. They're called resources, because you could like change the color of your case. For the first half of the game, I was using the one that like drops more handgun ammo, because that was what I was using. That's what I used like the whole time, because I kept using the handgun. Like, I could always use handgun ammo. Always use the handgun.
Pull this thing out, and it's going to save me. So
But I think what happened to me was I had so much ammo because I was getting better at my aiming. So I was just like hoarding handgun ammo at some point. So I switched to the one that gives you more resources, which allowed me to make more of like the rifle ammo. I thought that was pretty good. Those are the only two I used. Was the
and you had the charms on there that you could equip as well. You have the case that does something, and then you could equip the like 3 charms.
We should talk about the charms. So the charms you get from playing like the shooting gallery. Did you play the shooting gallery?
Oh yeah. So I'm certainly not a completionist, so I did not try to get like every single goal on each shooting gallery. But there was like 4 or 5 of them, and each one came with like 3 challenges. Yeah. And I did all of them to at least get, a couple of the coins or whatever that you put in like a little coin machine, and it rotates the thing, so it pops out a little like, gotcha like charm. So
I had one funny one. It was like a super rare charm, whatever. It's like move 7% faster. I was like, and I used it. I used it, but it was. I guess it went faster. I couldn't really tell. But,
well, you went 7% faster.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I like the shooting minigame. I like you. I just kind of played through them all. I played through them all at least once, and some of the more fun ones I tried to get like
a couple more.
Yeah, I tried like a personal high score. I never perfected any of them. I saw a clip on Twitter of someone getting a perfect score of the last one, and it was like the craziest thing I've seen in a game ever.
Right.
It's really impressive.
I need to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's another one of these situations where it takes you completely out of the seriousness of it. You go down an elevator, which is just in wherever you're at. There's just like an elevator behind the merchant, and it's just like this weird pirate-themed carnival thing. And he's like talking to you over like an intercom, and you're just shooting these like pirate cutouts.
And from what I've heard, the game was even more goofy. Like in the original, like there were other little mini game type things that they took out of this, which I didn't know about. But yeah, that was a very nice like reprieve, because you go in and ammo is not, you have infinite ammo, which is great. You just kind of you can just play it as just a little mini game. But those were fun, just for the sake of it.
Because of the shooting mini game, I actually invested more into a weapon, because it let me use the I guess it's called a bolt shooter. Yeah, basically like a little crossbow thing. It let me use a fully upgraded version of that, and it was like 20 shots, and it shot real fast. I was like, I want this. For it. I want this. So I put like a bunch of money into the crossbow shooter thing. And I had this goofy semi-automatic 20-shot crossbow stealth weapon, which was I ended up liking it a lot. It was stealthy, they called it, but also it was like, unless you just shot out into the void, it was basically unlimited ammo. Because you got it all back. They didn't break.
I didn't feel like it was ever doing that. Like I always wanted to resort to my handgun.
The damage was not good, but it was weird. You could stand there in front of them, and if there's like 3 of them in a crowd, you could like shoot one of them over and over again. The other ones would be like, "Donde está?" And like you just keep shooting the first guy, and then you like move to the next guy, and it was pretty fun. But the handgun, I used the penetrator, I think it was called.
I think the Punisher, and it had
Punisher.
Punisher
It
had the ability of it could go through multiple enemies, which is cool.
I used that. I maxed that out. That was like my bread and butter the whole game.
Heck yeah.
It was so
It was
fun.
the perfect balance of all the stats for me, and then it had the penetration, power to go through multiple enemies at a time. So it was great. It felt.
Did you keep the what's it called, the broken butterfly, the Magnum? Did you keep that in your inventory?
I did keep it, actually, because I would pull it out occasionally, because that's a separate, if it was pistol ammo, that would have been a different story, but it was Magnum ammo, so it's like, that's another weapon type, I might as well have one on hand. I maybe upgraded it like once or twice. It was just really expensive, and it already did so much damage.
So much damage.
I was like, I don't need to really upgrade this. I'll spend it on other things that need it.
At the end of the game, I threw the full power. I didn't care about reload. I didn't care about whatever.
Oh, you just maxed out power.
Max power, and it was basically it's a hand cannon, and it worked really good for like the last hour of the game.
That was like a get out of jail free card. Like when I used it throughout the game, it was because like I was either going to get damaged or I was going to pull out the thing and blow away 5 people, and that's how I used it, because the ammo was pretty sparse on that. That was a pretty satisfying gun for sure.
Yeah, the shotgun was fun. I liked obviously crowd of enemies, throw a shotgun, knock them all down.
I like the equipping system with the weapons. You could equip like 8 at a time, and it was tied to the D-pad.
Oh, right?
It was like 2 in each direction. I thought that was really convenient.
Yep. I like to have grenades on too.
Grenades are fun. Grenades and flashes, man. You gotta have them.
Grenades were really fun, and then there's like the heavy grenade, which was,
man, it's so satisfying, dude. Yeah, crazy.
Basically, all the weapons felt Basically, all the weapons felt good. There's a couple times I would reset with like when I had a heavy grenade. I'm like, I want to get them all in a pile and then throw the heavy grenade.
Dude,
and then
there was one like little optional area I went back to, and it was like one of those guys that like in the red robe. It was like in that one of the first room where you go into the castle, and I think you see Salazar. You go back there to get like a chest or whatever because you get like a key or whatever it is, and that guy shows up with like a bunch of them. I literally just.
You just went nuts.
And it killed like all of them except for like 2. I was like, okay, that was a good idea. That was a good idea.
Yeah. Basically, all the weapons felt good. I would say like even like the knife kind of felt good, even though like just kind of stabbing people with it was kind of goofy.
It was another get out of jail free card there because if you get grabbed, you do a little stab, and you get like you have your basic like superpower combat knife that breaks, but you can repair, and then you have like the smaller ones that you find throughout that you can use for either. What was that? Crafting bolts, I think.
Yep.
Or just the same way the knife is used.
Like one-time use knives, basically.
Right. Yeah. That was really fun.
The reward for getting all of there's a like clockwork castellans, the little like toy things.
Yeah, there's like 20 of them or something.
Basically like little hidden collectibles you gotta destroy throughout the game.
Right.
If you destroy all of them, you get an unbreakable knife.
No way! Oh man, I didn't know that. That's a good reward. That's a really good reward.
Yeah, so you could play through New Game Plus with an unbreakable knife, which would be cool. I didn't get it. I think I ended up like 2 or 3 left, and I was like, well, I don't know. I mean,
well, it was probably they could have been locked to areas that you're not going to be able to go to. I wonder if the progress on that goes through New Game Plus.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've heard that this game is a fun game to replay. A lot of people like replaying it over and over again.
Yeah, it's like obviously the shooting's really solid. The guns are fun. There's a lot of variety. Once you've gotten past like whether you're big on like survival horror and suspenseful stuff, once you've gotten through it one time, you know what to expect, and like then you can just focus on like it's like an arcade shooter at that point. So I'm sure it's really fun to replay.
Yeah. There's the new Mercenaries mode now that just got added, and you can like unlock weapons through that to play the game with. There's like a super broken weapon. I think it's like a hand cannon, like a revolver. Does like a bunch of damage. I think there's like even like an unlimited ammo upgrade for it, so you could like get that.
I would love to run through the game with that.
Run through the game, just popping people.
You probably beat the game in like an hour, and like you skip the cutscenes and you're just going. Yeah.
This game's a lot of fun. I have this like love-hate relationship with both Village and this one. With like, I like to go back and explore things, like get everything, and obviously the entire design of the game being somewhat. What's the word I'm looking for? Just blanked. No, not linear. Damn.
Well, it's a
survival. Like you don't want to. Like it doesn't want to let you go get everything. You can't go back and get all the stuff if you miss it.
Right, because you didn't see it, so now you're in this new area. That thing's closed off. Now figure out how to survive.
Exactly. So figure out survive with what you have. And like that works for this game, and I like it. But it does bother me when there's like one collectible back there, like I know I missed. It's like, damn.
Yeah, the only map where I got everything as far as the treasures were concerned was the village map. And I popped a trophy. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I had like
a one drawer. I had like I didn't have a key. I was like, where's the key at? I was like, damn, where's this freaking key at? It's probably just some stupid gem worth 3,000. It wasn't even
right. Exactly, but then that's the one little thing that kept you from getting a trophy. So that's one of those love-hate things for sure. So at least if you get it on one playthrough, because that was the trophy said it was like collect all treasure in the village in one playthrough, like not like some here and then the new game plus, like you get it all at one time. So that was the only did that once, and there was like how many, like 3 different
there's 3 maps. And that's another thing. The game's like basically in 3 sections. All of them. I think I like the village the most.
I think so too. Yeah.
The castle was really cool.
Got pretty difficult in the castle. Like honestly, like I said, there were some enemy encounters when you get into the castle that like were stressful.
Yeah, they'd have like shields and stuff. Shooting the wooden shields with a shotgun was awesome.
Well, and then you could shoot with the Punisher that had the penetration power to get through the shields. That was very handy too. Yeah.
There's some funny moments where you could like shoot a cannon. Shooting a cannon's fun.
Right. Yeah. Again, goofy, arcadey, like
the Gatling gun in the last area. You get to shoot that a little bit. That was fun. I liked the last section towards the end of the game. You get like some like air support with like a helicopter.
Oh yeah, it made that area feel like, because you were going into it and it's like, man, this is gonna be tough. And then you have this helicopter behind you. It just felt real epic. The music was going. And it's like, I feel really cool because it's like you don't know exactly when the helicopter's gonna come in and like shoot and help you out, but it made it feel like kind of you're just kind of rolling through it, and like it's like a fortress siege.
Yeah, that was like that. That was really cool, and I also like just because how games and storytelling works. Like that guy in the helicopter is gonna blow up. There's 0% chance that guy saves me.
His name's what? Exactly. You don't know his name.
Yeah, exactly.
That means he's gonna die soon. So.
Yeah. He came in, it's like, okay, this guy's not going to save me. I'm not going to just escape on helicopter, man. And sure enough, he does explode.
Yeah, I think he says his name right at the end, right before he dies. He's like, no!
And then Leon's like, Jimmy! And it's like, no. All right, time to continue. It's like, okay, well, no hard feelings for Jimmy, I guess.
And then the second he says hop in, nope, dead.
Really good game. I wish I had more time not playing other games. I would probably run through this game again because I know it's like built to do that. Like run through the game knowing where all the stuff's hidden would be a lot of fun. Using all the weapons from the start would be fun. I have to play other games now. But
even though the game, I think my runtime was like 18-ish hours, and that was I was being as thorough as I wanted to be. The longer the game went, and the more difficult.
Less thorough.
I didn't always go back and do everything else, but I was like pretty thorough. I think that's probably around the average playtime, 15 to 20 hours in that range. And I guess the next playthrough I would probably, again, it would depend on what I wanted to get out of it, but I'd probably spend another 10 to 15 in it. And it would be fun for sure, but just the bandwidth is not there, unfortunately.
Too many games. But I really liked the game. I liked it more than Village, even though I really liked Village.
I think I did too. I liked it more than Village as well. Yeah.
I would like to play.
Person. Yeah.
Yeah, third person's for sure. Definitely, I prefer third person to first person, especially in single player.
Right. Yep.
But
feels like you can, obviously, it by definition you can see more of what's around you. So a little bit less stressful there. But.
Yeah. I want to play 2 Remake and 3 Remake eventually. I'll probably play 9 whenever that comes out.
Oh, for sure. I think they've got me on games coming out. I don't know how much I'll go back and play. Like I said, I have watched a lot of playthroughs of them, and especially 2 and 3 Remake. I've watched playthroughs of those multiple times, and those are just fun watches. They're not very long games, just like 4. In the games coming up, whether they go first person or third person, whatever it is, like I think they've got me on just I'll buy that stuff and I'll play it.
One thing I liked about this game, one of my least favorite things in 8, and I know it's in 2 and 3 Remake also, I hate sections where the big, you're exploring and the wandering big monster just can find you at the run. I hate those so much. And that didn't ever really actually happen in this one, so I was happy about that.
I'm trying to remember what was. I guess 8 had Lady
Dimitrescu. Yeah.
Yep.
She'd be wandering.
I do not like being chased. Yeah, I'm not big on being chased for sure. So at least in that one, I don't know, she was definitely still scary, but I think you were able to keep track of her a little bit easier because she was she wasn't like Mr. X in 2. I don't know if you've seen what he's like.
Yeah, I've seen what it looks like.
Yeah, but I feel like first of all, he's harder to hear and track. It's darker and everything, and then he will pop up just in more random times. It felt like when I was watching the playthrough. So but no, I'm not big on being chased.
Yeah, I used to
the survival aspect of games.
I used to love in 8 when Lady Dimitrescu chased me. I'd run to the safe room and she'd stop outside the door. It was like the anti sea bear circle in SpongeBob. Yes, she's like, I can't cross this line. It's the rule.
Even though it's her castle.
No, not that room. That's my room.
No, that is my room. That's the Duke's room.
Good stuff. Any of the last minute thoughts?
I think we covered pretty much everything. It was really good, really fun.
Yeah, really good game. I am glad I played it. Didn't even have to really touch on the story. Story was pretty good, fine, interesting, whatever.
Yeah. Pretty standard Resident Evil stuff from what I've seen. So
gameplay and just the whole world building atmosphere was great though.
Yep, for sure.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir. I guess that's all we have to talk about in this one. And I think we have some other games coming up that we'll talk about, but we'll have to just wait and see how those go. But
yep.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.